Hey everyone, I'm Dan from JazzComposersPresent.com, an online space where composers, musicians, and listeners come together to celebrate the music we love. I'm joined today by Felipe Salles, saxophonist, arranger, award-winning composer, leader of the Felipe Salles Interconnections Ensemble, and professor of jazz studies at UMass Amherst. Felipe is here to show us how to use poetry to inspire song form and content.
Hi, everybody. Thanks, guys, for having me here. Yes, I'm not gonna say I am a person who writes a lot of music, a lot of songs with lyrics, but when I do, I want to make that a very special thing. So the first thing I'm gonna tell you is this piece that we're gonna look into is actually a poem in Portuguese. And so if you're ever feel connected with a poem in a language that you don't speak, make sure to talk to somebody and have them read the poem for you in their native language. Make sure that you work all the cadences and all the accents in the right place, because I've seen things happen where the person doesn't understand the syntax of the language, and the syntax of the language is actually the melody. So we're going to look at this poem, and I picked a couple of places in the poem that I thought were very important for me to illustrate through the music and through the form. So if you can look at the poem for a second, they're highlighted in yellow. So on the left, you have the poem in Portuguese, and on the right, you have a translation. So the first one we're gonna look at is a phrase that says, "É esse viver na borda," which means from living on the edge. So I chose that to illustrate on the song, and we're going to look at that. And the second one is Uma Noite Sem Fim, a night without an end. So those were the two main points that I decided that were going to sort of shape the entire song and shape the form. So let's look at the first one, which is the living on the edge one. And here's a piece of the harmony and melody with the lyrics underneath. So you can see on the first system that as the melody is going up to, say, living on the edge, there's an ascending line. This melody is in G minor, but there's a lot of other chords there to sort of muddle the harmony. But at that very moment, that is the highest note that the melody is going to contain, which is a C. And that melody is not a very easy one to sing. It's sort of supposed to be a little bit of a struggle to get to that point. So it's a G minor scale, but it has the F sharp in there and sounds like this. And so we're starting on sort of a G minor sound, but then it's kind of muddled by the E half diminished, right? And then we're going to another chord that is not very common there, E flat diminished. But the surprise is when we get to the top of the note, because now we have the weirdest chord, the edgier chord per se, which is a D flat diminished major 7 or a C major over D flat, which sounds like this. It's like the tenser and the weirder of the chord. So I chose that harmony to be descending as the melody is struggling to go up, right? So you got that. Right? And then you have a surprise of that tension between the top note and the bass, and filled with a chord that you're not supposed to expect that kind of chord there. So I think that created, plus the orchestration. Obviously, the orchestration is a big part of how that gets developed. But I think if we listen to it, it will be great to listen to that little excerpt and how it turned out to be with orchestration and the harmony. Can we listen to that?
E o sobressalto me acorda, é esse
So also the orchestration grows throughout the piece, and this is the very first time that the entire ensemble is playing on that chord. So it also creates a tension with the orchestration until we get to that point. The second point is the night without an end, which I wanted to create a suspension there, you know. And that's actually a moment where it resolves on a B flat, but it sounds like you're resolving on B flat, but it is actually G minor 6 underneath. And there's a few weird notes on top, C and A. But the moment that we get to that point, if you want to look at the melody, you can see that it's extended. It's basically a bar. There's an extra bar where the ensemble is basically sitting there and waiting to go on. You know, so it gives that sensation of a never-ending pause. You know, if we can look at the melody there, you can see that. So the third line, measure 36, you can see you have the G minor 6 chord. The melody is already kind of on the low side, but then it just sits there for 2 measures, which is an extra measure in the form, you know, like it should be 4 measures, 8 measures, but then all of a sudden you have a phrase that is 4 measures long, but it's actually extended to 6 measures long. And so that gives you this weird, uncomfortable sensation. Let's listen to that played by the ensemble and sang by the singer.
Sufoco bem o ruim e vem sono sem sonhos em travesseiro sem fronha e uma noite sem fim.
And again, the orchestration also creates a weird feeling because you have a very low G minor 6 chord, and then you have this sustained notes between the piccolo, the flute, and the violin harmonics. So you kind of have that middle part where nothing is happening, and then there's no time happening. So it creates that uncomfortable pause there. So those are 2 examples of how you can shape the melody of a song. In this case, obviously, the song came after the poem, which makes possible for the composer, in this case, myself, to create whatever I want in terms of melody and harmony and also orchestration. This piece is part of my new record, which is called Camera Obscura, and it's a record I've been wanting to do for a long time. It features a jazz quartet with piano, bass, drums, and saxophone, plus a woodwind sextet with flute, piccolo, alto flute, and bass flute, and a string quartet. And that's the orchestration you've been listening to. So let's listen to this melody from beginning to end so you can hear how it shapes and how the orchestration also has a very big part in the way the dramatic effect of the tune is. So I hope you enjoy it.
Eu só concilio o sono nos braços de algum amigo. O sobressalto me acorda, é esse viver na borda que sempre me desconcentra. De peito apertado peço aos amigos que me apertem. E entre os num travesseiro sem fronha e uma noite sem fim. Nos braços de algum amigo, novo ou antigo, novo ou antigo.
And that was A Deriva from my new album, Camera Obscura. I hope you enjoyed this lesson and see you next time. Thank you.
Thanks for watching today's mini lesson. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Drop any questions, comments, or suggestions for future videos down below. To watch our full-length events and participate in live Q&As with our presenting artists, head to jazzcomposerspresent.com. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.